Let's knit the short row section for the bust shaping of the Baudelaire top, with the panel with the cutouts being the front panel of the top. And we're going to do that with a real life example of a knitter with a gauge of 9 stitches and 18 rows. They have a bust measurement difference between the front and the back of 11 centimeters. So it means that we are going to add 11 centimeters to the front panel. To do that, we will need to add 20 rows total given the gauge. Their X value is 3. So we need to increase 3 times. We increase actually on 3 right side rows, twice each time. So if we count the wrong side rows, it represents 6 rows where increases will be happening, because we increase only on the right side, but we need to come back on the wrong side. So I want to knit 20 rows total, keeping 6 rows at the end to make increases. So I'm going to start with knitting 14 rows of short rows, German short rows, without doing any kind of increase. This is the panel I have so far. That's just a short sample to give you an idea. So I have 33 stitches, like this knitter, and I'm going to mark the last stitches I want to include in my short row panel. We want to never knit the very sides of the panel when we do bust shaping. In this case, we have 33 stitches, and I'm going to leave 3 stitches untouched on each side. I'm going to place a stitch marker, just so that it's really clear, on the last stitches that I'm willing to work. So one here, and on the other side, symmetrically, I leave 3 side stitches alone. I'm not going to include them in the short row section. And that's because we always want to leave between 2 and max 4 or 5 centimeters of the panel untouched, and only work the middle section. I'm going to use a contrasting color so that it's really clear what's going on. We have quite a lot of bust shaping to do, so let's get started. When you will start knitting the short rows, you will start knitting as normal. So here we go. Start knitting, and I will meet you a little further down this row. For now, you can knit past that first stitch, you can ignore it, and keep going until before you reach the other stitch marker. So I'm very close to reaching my stitch marker at the end of the right side row. So that's the first row that I count as part of the short row section. I'm still gonna knit that 4th stitch here, the one with the stitch marker. It's the last one I'm gonna work before doing my first turn. To do that, that's the standard technique for German short row. I turn the work, I'm now on the wrong side. I slide the stitch from the left to the right needle, and I pull on the yarn quite tightly so as to create a double stitch, a kind of weird looking stitch with 2 legs instead of 1. And I need to start purling to go back in the other direction, so I'm gonna place the yarn at the front, and we're gonna start purling, and I will meet you closer to the first stitch marker on the other side of the work. I have almost reached the first stitch marker. I'm gonna keep purling, and I'm still going to purl it, that 1 stitch, and I'm gonna work my second turn. To do that, I turn the work. This time I need to place the yarn at the front before I slip the stitch, and that is logical because in order to be able to create the double stitch, I need to pull front to back. The double stitch is this weird looking stitch that we create every time, and that looks like it has 2 legs. And I want to now go back and knit, so my yarn is already at the back. I can just go, and I don't need to do anything else. I am getting close to the weird looking stitch with 2 legs, which is here. I'm going to knit until I reach one stitch before the strange looking stitch. I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to turn before reaching it. So I'm going to knit the one just before the double stitch, and I'm going to make that turn again. And with the same technique as before, slide the stitch from the left to the right needle, pull my yarn quite snugly to the back so as to create the next double stitch, so it's next to the previous one. And because I want to purl, I place my yarn back at the front of my work, now looking at the wrong side row, and I'm gonna start purling, and I will meet you before reaching the next turn. I'm close to reaching my strange looking double stitch, and like before, I'm going to stop one stitch before reaching it. And I'm gonna purl this one and do my turn. Just like before, back on the right side. I will place my yarn at the front so that I can slide the stitch before pulling back to create the double stitch. And that's it. I'm gonna keep knitting. I'm going to keep knitting until I have 14 rows without increasing, and then I'm gonna add 6 more rows, and I'm going to increase every time on the right side row. But if you look at what we have already, you can see that the middle of the work is increasing and not the side. I just knitted my 14 short rows without doing any increases, and I'm going to start my 15th short row. I just did the turn, so I have the last double stitch I made over here on the right needle. My yarn is in the back, so I'm ready to go and start knitting. I'm going to increase only on right side rows. So here I'm gonna knit one normally, and then I'm going to work my increase by doing a knit, front loop, back loop, like so. So that's my first increase, and I'm gonna keep knitting until I am 2 stitches from the next double stitch I'm going to encounter. I have 2 stitches left before this double stitch. I'm going to work my increase here, knit, front loop, back loop, like so. And now I have 1 stitch left before my double stitch. I'm going to knit it and work my German short row. So sliding my stitch on the other needle and pulling the yarn back at the front. We are not increasing on wrong side rows, so I'm going to purl normally until I encounter my next double stitch. This is what my sample looks like after working 20 short rows in total, which correspond to this orange area, of which 14 were worked without doing any sort of increase, and the last 6 contain increases on right side rows. Now I'm going to resolve the short rows before I can start knitting normally again. So this was my last turn. I'm going to knit this time all the way until the end of my panel, resolving the double stitches as I encounter them. I'm going to knit the double stitches as a knit 2 together, always taking both legs of the stitch together. And I'm going to resolve all of them as I go. Last one, last double stitch. And I have my 3 untouched stitches from the beginning, which I will knit normally. And I can now turn my work and work a wrong side row until the very end of the work. I'm now going to resolve the double stitches that I made on the other side of the work. I'm going to purl normally until I encounter double stitches, and I will meet you at that point. I'm now encountering the double stitches I made on the side of the work. To resolve them, I grab both legs of the double stitch and I purl them all together. And I keep doing that until I reach the beginning of the row where I still have my 3 untouched stitches, and I will finish the row simply purling all of them. So this is what my sample looks like. The orange part corresponds to the short row, which creates additional space for the bust. I have my increases here at the end, so the panel is also gaining in width. I did my cast off a bit too tight here, so I can't spread it perfectly, but this can give you an idea of how you can add a lot of bust shaping to the panel while also increasing. This side is larger than this side.